I'd spent 5 years building walls so high nothing could touch me. It took 4 arrows hitting the wrong person to bring them all down. 3 a.m., the medical wing smelled like antiseptic and failure. I sat in the leather chair someone had dragged beside her bed, watching Grace Morgan's chest rise and fall. 18 breaths per minute, steady. I'd been counting since Dr. Isla Hayes told me she might not make it through the night. That was 72 hours ago. My hands still shook. They hadn't stopped since I'd pulled those arrows from her back, her shoulder, her side, her thigh, silver-tipped. Coated in wolfsbane meant for the infected grizzly, meant to kill quickly. She'd taken all 4 and kept breathing somehow, kept holding my son, kept asking if he was hurt before she'd let herself collapse. Fragile human, breakable bones and thin skin. No healing factor, no supernatural strength, just flesh and blood and a stubbornness that defied every tactical calculation I'd ever learned. The monitors beeped their rhythm. I counted those too. 68 beats per minute, strong heart, stronger than mine had been in years. Isla appeared in the doorway, silver threading through her black hair, catching the low light. Her eyes found mine, then Grace's sleeping form, then back to me. She didn't ask why I was still here. We both knew. Werewolf blood is taking. The transfusions worked. I nodded. Couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, something might come out that I wasn't ready to hear myself say. You should rest, Marcus. She's stable now. I'm fine. You've been here 3 nights. The pack needs their king. The pack has Garrett in the council. They'll survive without me for a few more hours. Isla studied me with the practiced eye of someone who'd known me since I was a pup. She delivered me, patched me up after my first shift, held my hand when my father died. She'd been there the night Catherine was murdered, watching me shatter into pieces I never quite put back together. Right? She matters to you, the stranger. Not a question. Isla never asked questions she didn't already know the answers to. She saved Liam. Yes, but that's not why you're counting her heartbeats like enemy combatants. I looked away. The window showed Montana, darkness, pine forests stretching toward mountains I couldn't see but knew were there. Familiar territory, safe ground. Nothing in this room felt safe. Go home, Marcus. Liam needs to see you, needs to know you're okay too. She was right. I stood, joints protesting. When had I gotten old? 35 shouldn't feel like 50. But 5 years of being stone would do that. Calcify you from the inside out. I reached the door, stopped. If anything changes, you'll be my first call. Grace's breathing shifted. I turned, but her eyes stayed closed. Dreaming, maybe. I wondered if she dreamed about arrows. About my son's terrified face. About choosing pain over abandoning a child she didn't know. Why did she do it? The words escaped before I could stop them. Isla smiled, sad and knowing, because she remembered what it means to be human. Something you might want to try remembering too. I left before she could see my face. The walk back to the main residence took me through the pack compound. Late April in Montana meant spring thaw mud and melting snow, making the paths treacherous. I navigated by memory, mine elsewhere. 5 years ago, this same walk in darkness. Catherine's blood still wet on my hands. Liam crying somewhere behind me, 6 months old and already motherless. The rogues had been coordinated professional. Killed the queen while the king played soldier at the border. Tactical victory turned to strategic catastrophe. We'd won the skirmish and lost everything that mattered. I'd made a vow that night. Never again. Duty first. Walls up. No weaknesses they could exploit. Worked perfectly until a blonde ghost threw herself between death and my son without hesitation. The residence was dark except for the nightlights I'd installed after Liam's nightmares started. I found him in his room, curled around the stuffed wolf Catherine had bought him. 4 years old. He'd never really known his mother. Just photographs and stories from people who remembered her better than he ever could. I sat on the edge of his bed. He stirred, gray eyes blinking open. My eyes. Catherine's had been brown. Daddy. Hey, buddy, go back to sleep. Is the angel okay? The angel, that's what he called Grace, yellow-haired angel who kept the monster away. She's getting better, still sleeping. Will she wake up? Yes. I made it a promise, though I had no right. She's very strong. Like you, stronger. He processed this with the seriousness of children who'd learned too young that the world had teeth. Will she come see me? When she's better, I promise. He reached for my hand, small fingers wrapping around mine. I was scared, Daddy, really scared. My chest cracked open. I know, I'm sorry I wasn't there fast enough. But she was. She said she had me. She promised. And she'd kept that promise. Bled for it. Nearly died for it. For a child who wasn't hers in a pack that barely acknowledged her existence. I stayed until Liam fell back asleep, then retreated to my own room. Stood in the shower until the water ran cold, trying to wash away the feel of Grace's blood on my hands. It didn't work. I could still smell it. Wildflowers and copper, and something uniquely hers that made my wolf stir in ways I'd forbidden for 5 years. No, absolutely not. I didn't get to want things. That path led to distraction, to weakness, to finding more bodies of people I'd failed to protect. Sleep didn't come. I sat on the back porch watching the sun rise over the mountains, coffee going cold in my hands. The Montana wilderness stretched in every direction, hundreds of miles of pack territory I was sworn to defend. But I couldn't defend one woman from arrows fired by my own warriors in the chaos of battle. Force Recon had taught me to analyze failures. Break them down, find the weak points, prevent repetition. The infected grizzly had been the primary threat. My warriors had responded correctly with silver-tipped arrows. The civilian Grace had inserted herself into the kill zone. No one's fault, acceptable casualty in combat conditions, except I couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that she'd been alone on that hunting expedition. That the pack treated her like a placeholder, a useful tool inherited from her healer mother. That I'd watched her for years, noticed her quiet competence, her kindness to the wolf pups, her loneliness, and done nothing. I'd been so focused on building walls to protect myself that I hadn't seen the people outside them bleeding. Sir, Garrett's voice pulled me from the spiral. My lead warrior looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 days. Scars crisscrossed his face from decades of service. Good man, loyal. He'd served my father and now served me with the same unwavering dedication. Garrett. Council's requesting audience. Connor's been agitating about the human situation. Of course he had. Connor McLeod ran the Western Pack with an iron fist and traditionalist ideology that made stone look flexible. He'd been pushing for human removal from pack territories for years. Grace's heroism wouldn't change his mind. If anything, it proved his point about humans being liabilities. Tell them 2 hours. I need to check on Grace first. Garrett's expression softened. She's packed now. What she did, we won't forget. See that you don't. I found Isla in Grace's room checking vitals. The machines still beeped their steady rhythm. Grace looked smaller in the medical bed, blonde hair spread across white pillows. 4 IV lines fed into her arms. Bandages covered most of her torso. The scars would be severe. Silver and wolfsbane left marks that even werewolf blood couldn't fully heal in human tissue. Any change. Blood pressure stabilizing. The internal bleeding stopped. She's a fighter, Marcus. I know. Isla glanced at me. The pack's calling her a hero. She is. Some are saying you should make it official. Pack Guardian. The title hasn't been awarded in 50 years. Pack Guardian. A position of honor for those who'd proven absolute loyalty through sacrifice. The last had been a wolf who'd saved an entire settlement from wildfire. Grace had saved the future Alpha. The heir, my son. Arrange it when she wakes. And if Connor objects, he can object to my face. Isla smiled. There's the king I remember. The one who led with conviction, not just duty. I didn't respond. That king had died with Catherine. This was just calcified habit wearing his face. But watching Grace's chest rise and fall, counting her steady heartbeats, I wondered if maybe some of him still existed. Buried under 5 years of stone, waiting for a reason to remember how to feel. The council meeting went exactly as expected. Connor railed against human weakness. I reminded him that said weakness had taken 4 arrows without flinching. Miranda Chen from the Coastal Pack sent words supporting Grace's elevation to Pack Guardian. Ronan Blake from the South remained neutral, too lost in his own grief over his dead mate to care about politics. Dana Volkov from the East calculated angles and said nothing committal. Standard territorial alpha posturing. I let them talk, made my decision clear, and ended the meeting. Being king meant wielding authority without explanation. I'd gotten good at it. Too good, maybe. Afterward, I found myself back at the medical wing. Couldn't seem to stay away. Isla gave me a knowing look but said nothing. I pulled the chair close to Grace's bed, settled in for another vigil. Her face was peaceful in sleep. Young, she couldn't be more than 23, 24. I'd never really looked at her before. Just another face in the pack tolerated because her mother had been useful. Guilt tasted like ash. I'm sorry. The words came out rough, unpracticed. I should have seen you. Should have made sure the pack treated you better. You were invisible because I let you be. She didn't respond, just kept breathing 18 per minute while I cataloged every failure that had led to this moment. Afghanistan had been easier. Clear enemies defined objectives, rules of engagement. I'd lost 3 Marines under my command to an IED I should have spotted. Came home carrying their names like stones. Jackson Rodriguez Kim. Catherine had helped me process the guilt, find purpose again. Then the rogues killed her and I stopped processing anything. Just buried it deep and kept moving forward because stopping meant feeling and feeling meant breaking. Grace stirred. My pulse jumped. Her eyelids fluttered but didn't open. Easy, you're safe. I kept my voice low, non-threatening. You're in the medical wing. You've been healing for 3 days. Her breathing changed, quickened slightly. Awareness returning. Your son, the whisper was barely audible, scratched and rough from disuse. My throat closed. Even semi-conscious, her first thought was Liam. Perfect. Because of you. A slight movement, maybe a nod, maybe just exhaustion. Her eyes opened to slits, unfocused, searching. We're safe in the main compound. You're safe, Grace. She seemed to relax at her name. I wondered if anyone used it often, or if she'd been just the human for so long that her own identity had become ghost-like. Her eyes found mine. Blue-gray like Montana sky before a storm. Intelligent despite the pain medication clouding them. The beast, dead. You gave us time to kill it, saved my son's life. Good. Her eyes drifted closed again. Good. She slipped back under before I could say more, but something in my chest loosened. She'd wake up. She'd be okay. The promise I'd made to Liam would hold. I sat back, released a breath I'd been holding for 3 days. Garrett found me there an hour later. Marcus, you need to see this. I followed him to the main hall where 6 of my senior warriors had gathered. All of them looked uncomfortable, shifting their weight like recruits awaiting punishment. What's this about? Garrett spoke for the group. We want to go see her. Pay respects. We failed to protect the prince. She succeeded where we didn't. We owe her a debt. Pack law recognized 3 types of debts. Blood debt for life saved, honor debt for sacrifice made, soul debt for choosing death over dishonor. Grace had earned all 3 from these warriors. She's still critical, not ready for visitors. Then when she is, we ask permission to kneel, formally acknowledge the debt. I studied their faces. These were wolves who'd fought beside me for years, hard men and women who'd earned every scar. They weren't given to empty gestures. Granted, when Isla clears her for visitors, you'll have your audience. They nodded as one touched hands to hearts in the gesture reserved for alpha respect and filed out. Garrett lingered. The pack's changing their view of her. Words spreading about what she did. Some are calling it the bravest thing they have witnessed. It was. You're changing too. The walls are cracking. Garrett. Good. You've been dead inside since Catherine. Maybe it takes a human to remind us what living looks like. He left before I could form a response. The next 2 days passed in a blur of pack business and medical wing vigils. I fell into a pattern. Dawn patrol breakfast with Liam, council affairs, lunch with Liam, afternoon training sessions with the warriors, dinner with Liam, then the medical wing until midnight. Sleep a few hours, repeat. Liam asked about Grace constantly. I brought him to visit once, let him see she was breathing healing. He wanted to climb onto the bed beside her and I held him back, explained she needed space to recover. He cried. I held him until he stopped, then took him home and read him 3 stories about brave warriors and the people they protected. Grace's color improved. The machines tracking her vitals showed steady progress. Isla decreased the sedation, letting her wake for longer periods. She remembered nothing from the attack. Trauma-induced amnesia common with that level of pain and blood loss. I didn't push. Let her heal first, deal with memories later. The 4th night, I found myself talking to her even though she slept. Couldn't help it. The silence felt too heavy. Liam's been asking about you. Every hour seems like. Wants to know when the angel's coming home. I paused, adjusted her blanket, though it didn't need adjusting. I told him you're not an angel, just a very brave person. But he's 4. Angels make more sense to him than humans being that courageous. The monitors beeped. I counted. 65 beats per minute. A little slower tonight. Good. Her body relaxing into recovery. I've been thinking about what Isla said, about remembering how to be human instead of king all the time, about living instead of just surviving. My hands clenched. I don't know if I can. Don't know if opening up again is worth the risk of losing more people I of losing anyone else. She didn't respond. Of course not. Unconscious people rarely did. But you ran toward danger anyway. Knew the arrows would hit you. Knew you might die. Ran anyway because a child needed protection. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. My Marines were like that. Jackson, Rodriguez, Kim. They didn't hesitate either when the IED went off. Just moved toward the threat, tried to save the civilians. Didn't work. They died and I came home, and I've been carrying them ever since. The confession felt strange in my mouth. I never talked about the Marines. Catherine had been the only one who'd heard these names. I think you'd understand them. The choice to matter even when it costs everything. My mother used to say courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. You proved that. 4 arrows and you never let go. Silence. The machines kept their rhythm. I kept counting. When you wake up, really wake up, I'm going to make you Pack Guardian. Official title voice in council protection under Pack law. You've earned it. And if Connor objects, well, he can try. But I'm still Alpha, and what I say stands. I stayed until dawn, then went to relieve the night patrol. Work never stopped. Territory needed defending. Disputes needed resolving. The Pack needed leadership. Being king meant carrying weight even when you were too tired to stand. But I caught myself smiling when Liam asked about Grace at breakfast. Caught myself planning how to set up a room for her in the main residence. She couldn't go back to that isolated cabin on the Pack outskirts. Caught myself wanting her to wake up so I could see those blue-gray eyes, fully aware and know she was really going to be okay. The walls were cracking. Garrett had been right. I didn't know if that was good or terrifying. Probably both. The 5th night, everything changed. I arrived at the medical wing at my usual time just after midnight, when the day staff had gone and Isla worked late in her office. Found Grace's room dark except for the monitor's glow. Settled into my chair, started counting. 17 breaths per minute tonight. Almost normal. You know I can hear you, right? I jerked upright. Her eyes were open, clear, focused directly on me. Grace. Marcus, she tried to sit up, winced, thought better of it. How long have you been doing the creepy vigil thing? Despite everything, I almost laughed. 5 nights. How long have you been awake? About 10 minutes. Thought I was hallucinating at first. The AlphaKing's sitting beside my bed seemed unlikely. You saved my son. He's okay. Real fear in her voice, same as the first time she'd woken. Perfect. Not a scratch. You made sure of that. She relaxed back into the pillows. Good. That's good. We sat in silence. I searched for words, found none adequate. What did you say to someone who'd taken 4 arrows for your child? Thank you seemed insultingly small. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Why what? Why did you do it? You barely know Liam. The Pack's treated you like a ghost for years. You owed us nothing. Why throw yourself between him and that beast? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried weight I hadn't expected. My mother used to tell me stories before she died. Not fairy tales, lessons about survival. She said the smallest creatures in the forest often live longest because they know when to be still, when to run, when to bare their teeth despite having nothing to fight with. I leaned forward, drawn in despite myself. She told me courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing compassion when fear screams at you to run. I was 12 and didn't understand. But standing in that clearing, watching that child terrified and alone, I got it. Fear told me to hide. Compassion told me to run toward him. So I did. You almost died. But I didn't, and he's safe. That's what matters. Simple logic, absolute conviction. I stared at this fragile human woman who'd redefined every assumption I'd held about strength and sacrifice. My mother also said something else on her last night. Grace's eyes distant now, looking at memories I couldn't see. She said being brave means choosing to matter even when the world tells you you're invisible. I've been invisible here for 11 years, since she died. I think part of me wanted to prove I could matter, even if it was just for one moment. My chest tightened. You matter, Grace. You've always mattered. I'm sorry the pack made you feel otherwise. I'm sorry I made you feel otherwise. Her eyes widened. You noticed me. Of course I noticed you. Healer's daughter, always helping despite being ignored. Kind to the wolf pups. Sat in the meadow reading on your days off. I noticed. But you never said anything. No, I didn't. And that was wrong. I held her gaze. I've been dead inside for 5 years. Building walls, keeping everyone at distance, telling myself it was for protection. For the pack's good. But really I was just scared of caring again. Scared of losing someone else. Grace reached out slowly, bridged the space between us. Her hand found mine. Warm despite the blood loss, steady despite the pain medication. I understand being scared. I've been terrified every day since my mother died. Terrified of not being enough, not mattering, disappearing completely. But you know what's scarier than caring? Spending your whole life behind walls and realizing too late you built a prison. The words hit like rounds downrange. Precise. Devastating. True. You're wise for someone so young. I'm 23 and I've been surviving alone since 12. You learn things. 23. God, she was barely an adult. And she'd been carrying this weight, this invisibility, this quiet courage for over a decade while I'd been too wrapped in my own grief to see. I want to offer you something. Position protection, place in the pack structure. I kept my hand in hers anchor against the vulnerability threatening to pull me under. Pack Guardian. The council's approved it. You'd have voice in meetings, honored status, pack law protection. You've earned it 10 times over. She blinked. Pack Guardian, that's a real thing. Title hasn't been given in 50 years. Last was to a wolf who saved an entire settlement. You saved the future Alpha, my son, heir to Northern Rockies pack. You qualify. I'm human. Your pack. Species doesn't determine worth, actions do, and your actions proved you belong here more than wolves born into it. Tears gathered in her eyes. I watched one slip free track down her cheek. Wanted to wipe it away but didn't trust myself to touch more than her hand. I accept, and I'm honored. Truly. Good. We'll do the ceremony when you're stronger, but there's more. I took a breath. This next part terrified me more than combat ever had. I want you in the main house, your own room. Close to Liam, he's been asking for you constantly. Close to me, to the pack leadership, I mean. You shouldn't be isolated anymore. Her hand tightened on mine. Marcus, I don't want to impose. It's not imposition. It's necessity. My son needs you. You've become important to him. And I forced myself to continue. And I think maybe you've become important to me too. I don't fully understand it yet, but I know I can't stop counting your heartbeats. Can't stop making sure you're breathing. Can't imagine you going back to that cabin and disappearing into invisibility again. Grace studied me with those storm-colored eyes. I felt stripped bare, every wall I'd built crumbling under her gaze. Okay, yes, I'll stay. Relief flooded through me. Good, that's good. But Marcus, you should know something. What? I can hear you when you visit at night. The talking, the confessions. Your Marines, Jackson, Rodriguez, Kim. Catherine, the guilt you carry. I've been listening. Heat crept up my neck. I didn't mean to burden you. You didn't. You gave me something to hold on to when the pain got bad. Reminded me I wasn't alone. That even kings bleed. We sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, while the machines tracked her vitals, and I counted her heartbeats and realized that for the first time in 5 years, I wasn't alone in the dark either. Isla found us like that an hour later. She took one look at our joined hands and smiled. About time you both woke up. The next week passed in a blur of recovery and reorganization. Grace grew stronger daily, the werewolf blood accelerating her healing beyond human norms. Isla warned it wouldn't change. Her human genetics were dominant, but it would help. The scars would remain. 4 silver marks she'd carry forever. I oversaw preparations for her room in the main residence while managing pack business. Garrett reported increased rogue activity on the western border. Connor sent aggressive correspondence about human policy. Miranda checked in from the coastal pack offering support for Grace's elevation. Ronan remained silent in the south, lost in grief over his mate. Standard alpha politics. I handled it with half my attention, while the other half planned wildflower arrangements and book selections. Isla caught me researching Grace's favorite authors in the pack library. You're being obvious. I'm being thorough. You're being interested in a woman for the first time since Catherine. I set down the catalog. It's not like that, isn't it? She saved Liam. I'm grateful, that's all. Isla's expression said she didn't believe me for a second. Marcus, you've been dead inside for 5 years. If this woman brings you back to life, that's good. Let it be good. What if letting her close gets her killed? What if I care and lose her like I lost Catherine, like I lost my Marines? What if you don't and you miss the chance at something real because you're too scared to try? I had no answer for that. The Pack Guardian ceremony happened on the 7th day. Grace could stand with assistance, walk short distances, still pale, still healing, but determined to be present for something this important. The council gathered in the Great Hall. All the senior warriors, pack elders, key members. Garrett stood as witness. Connor had sent a formal objection by messenger, but he wasn't here to argue in person. Cowards move. Grace wore simple clothes, jeans, and a sweater Isla had found. Her blonde hair was down, hiding some of the lingering pallor, but her eyes were clear, determined. I stood before the assembled pack in full formal attire, alpha authority radiating through every word. Grace Morgan, 7 days ago you took 4 arrows meant for an infected beast. You shielded Prince Liam with your own body. You asked if he was hurt before acknowledging your own injuries. You chose pain over abandoning a child, chose possible death over letting harm reach our future. The hall was silent, every eye on Grace. For this sacrifice, for this courage, the Northern Rockies Pack recognizes you as Pack Guardian, a title not given in 50 years. You will have voice in council protection under Pack law and the honor due to one who's proven absolute loyalty. I lifted the formal medallion, silver and obsidian Pack symbols carved into the metal, placed it around her neck. The weight of it settled against her chest. From this moment you are not tolerated, you are honored, not invisible, seen, not outside looking in. You are Pack, truly, completely, undeniably Pack. Grace's eyes glistened. She touched the medallion with trembling fingers. Garrett stepped forward, then dropped to one knee. The other 5 senior warriors followed. One by one they knelt before this fragile human woman who'd shown them what strength actually meant. We owe you a debt, Garrett's voice carried through the hall. You protected our prince when we failed. You took arrows and never let go. There aren't words for what that means. But we'll spend our lives trying to repay it. Grace looked overwhelmed. I touched her shoulder, gently grounding her. He was scared. I couldn't let him be scared alone. You're Pack now, Grace. The female warrior Maya spoke from her kneeling position. Truly Pack. Not just tolerated, honored. They stayed kneeling until Grace nodded acceptance, then rose as one, each touching hand to heart as they passed. The gesture they reserved for their alpha, now given freely to her. When the hall cleared, Grace turned to me. That was deserved, every word. I don't know how to be honored. I've only ever known how to be invisible. I cupped her face gently, made sure she was looking at me. Then I'll teach you, starting with getting you settled in your new room. The main residence felt different with Grace there. Warmer somehow, less like a fortress and more like a home. I showed her the room myself, second door on the left, past mine, past Liam's. Opened it to reveal the space I'd spent a week preparing. Large bed with a cream duvet, reading nook by the window with cushions and soft blues. Bookshelves filled with titles Isla had mentioned Grace wanting. And on the dresser, fresh wildflowers from the meadow where her mother used to take her. Grace stopped in the doorway. Her hand flew to her mouth. How did you buy him? Isla helped. Said you used to sit in the meadow reading. And I remembered seeing you look at the library card, always choosing the same kinds of stories. Philosophy, poetry, history. She walked in slowly, touching the books, the flowers, the soft blanket on the reading bench. This is the nicest thing anyone's done for me since my mother died. You deserve nice things. You deserve everything. She turned, and the vulnerability in her expression made my chest tight. Why are you being so kind? If you say you're just anything, I'm going to have to challenge that statement with extensive evidence to the contrary. A laugh escaped her, surprised and genuine. The sound did something to my heart I wasn't ready to examine. I don't know how to thank you. Stay. Be here. Let us show you what it means to belong. Before she could respond, small footsteps thundered in the hallway. Liam appeared, clutching his stuffed wolf eyes wide. Grace, you're really here? Hi, sweetheart. He ran to her, then stopped short, suddenly uncertain. Can I hug you? Daddy said you still have owies. Gentle hug, very gentle. Liam carefully wrapped his arms around her waist. Grace sank down to his level, gathered him close. I watched my son melt into her embrace, watched her hold him with a tenderness that spoke of practice. She'd be an incredible mother someday. The thought struck like lightning, unexpected, terrifying. True. I missed you, Liam mumbled into her shoulder. I was scared you wouldn't wake up. I promised I'd always have you. Remember, I keep my promises. Daddy says you're staying with us now in this room. If that's okay with you, Liam pulled back, eyes serious. It's very okay. Now you can read me stories and help with my trucks and be here when I wake up from bad dreams. I'd love that. He hugged her again, then noticed the books. Oh, can you read to me, please? Grace looked to me. I nodded. One story, then Grace needs to rest. They settled on the reading bench together, Liam curled against Grace's side while she read about brave wolves and the humans who befriended them. I stood in the doorway watching and felt something in my chest I hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope. That night after Liam was in bed, I found Grace on the back porch. She'd found it somehow, the place where I came to think. Sat in the chair I usually occupied, staring at stars over the Montana mountains. Can't sleep. She turned, smiled. Still processing. This morning I was in the medical wing. Tonight I'm in your house wearing a Pack Guardian medallion after reading bedtime stories to a prince. I settled into the chair beside hers. Life changes fast sometimes. You're telling me. Silence stretched between us. Comfortable. Easy. Like we'd done this 100 times before instead of just once. Can I ask you something? Her voice was soft, careful. Anything. Why do you come to my room at night? Isla mentioned it. You watching me. Counting. Heat crept up my neck. I needed to make sure you were breathing. After Catherine, I stopped, regrouped. I've lost people I failed to protect. Couldn't lose someone else. Especially not someone who'd nearly died saving my son. I'm not Catherine. I know, but the fear is the same. The helplessness. Watching you take those arrows and being too far away to stop it. Being useless when it mattered. Grace reached across the space between chairs, found my hand. Exactly like she had in the medical wing. Her touch was becoming familiar. Grounding. You weren't useless. You killed the beast. You carried me back. You've sat vigil for a week. That's not useless, Marcus. That's devotion. To my son. Is it because from where I'm sitting, it feels like maybe you've been watching out for me too? Just me, not just Liam's savior, Mircea. I looked at our joined hands. Couldn't deny what was growing between us. Didn't want to, despite the fear. You scare me. The way you make me feel. Like I'm waking up after 5 years of being numb. I don't know if I can handle it. Then we'll figure it out together. One day at a time. One counted heartbeat at a time. I met her eyes. Saw understanding there. Acceptance, no pressure, just presence. I've been dead inside since Catherine. Built walls so high, nothing could reach me. Told myself it was protection. But really, I was just scared of caring again. Scared of losing someone else. I understand being scared. I've been terrified every day since my mother died. You hide it well. So do you. But I hear your voice in my room at night. Hear you confessing things you probably don't tell anyone else. You're not as walled off as you think. Or maybe, she smiled slightly, maybe the walls are cracking. They were. I could feel them breaking apart with every word she spoke, every steady breath she took, every moment she chose to stay instead of run. My mother used to say, pain calls to pain. We recognize our own. Grace's thumb traced patterns on the back of my hand. You carry your Marines, your wife, everyone you couldn't save. I carry my mother. 11 years of invisibility. We're both walking wounded. But maybe that means we understand each other better than whole people could. Maybe. I turned her hand over, looked at the bandages still covering her palms from where she'd braced against the ground. I don't know how to do this. Don't know how to open up without drowning in it. You're already doing it, right now, sitting here holding my hand, being honest. That's how. We sat like that as the stars wheeled overhead and the Montana wilderness breathed around us. Two broken people learning to exist in the same space without walls between them. Eventually, the cold drove us inside. I walked Grace to her room, made sure she had everything she needed, stood in the doorway reluctant to leave. Marcus, yeah, thank you for seeing me, for making me matter. You've always mattered. I just finally stopped being blind. She smiled soft and real, and I felt something shift in my chest. The last wall cracking clean through. Good night, Grace. Good night, Marcus. I made it to my room, closed the door, and stood in the dark, counting heartbeats I could no longer hear, but knew were still steady. 18 per minute. Alive. Safe. Here. For the first time in 5 years, I went to sleep thinking about tomorrow instead of yesterday. About a blonde woman who'd taken 4 arrows and taught a king how to be human again. About a son who'd found someone to trust besides his broken father. About possibilities I'd thought died with Catherine, but maybe were just sleeping, waiting for someone brave enough to wake them up. The broken king was still broken, but maybe with time and a guardian angel who didn't believe in giving up, he could learn to be just Marcus again. Just a man trying to be worthy of the sacrifices made for him, and just a father wanting to give his son a life without fear. Just someone who'd spent 5 years surviving and was finally tentatively learning to live. 3 weeks passed in a rhythm I hadn't known I needed. Dawn patrols took me through the territory while Grace slept. I'd returned to find coffee already made her small gesture that said she understood the morning cold, the weight of responsibility. We'd talk as sun rose over the mountains, her asking about pack politics, me explaining territorial boundaries, alliance structures, the constant chess game of alpha leadership. She listened like it mattered, asked questions that showed tactical thinking. I hadn't expected from someone without military training. Why not negotiate with Connor's Western border wolves directly instead of going through him? She'd been reading the patrol reports I'd left on the kitchen counter. Pack hierarchy. Going around an alpha undermines his authority. But if his wolves want different terms, aren't you helping him by preventing dissent? I paused, coffee cup halfway to my mouth. She was right. Lateral negotiation could strengthen Connor's position while achieving our objectives. Basic force recon strategy, find pressure points, apply leverage, create win-win scenarios. That's actually brilliant. She smiled over her mug. Survival teaches you to think sideways. When you're small and breakable, direct confrontation gets you killed. You learn to find angles. I implemented her suggestion that afternoon. Connor's border wolves appreciated the direct communication. Tensions eased. Connor sent terse acknowledgement that didn't quite hide his surprise at the diplomatic solution. Grace had been in my house 3 weeks and already making me a better king. Liam thrived with her there. His nightmares stopped completely. He'd wake and pad down the hall to her room, knock softly. She'd let him crawl into her reading nook, tell him stories about brave creatures who protected what mattered, about choosing compassion over fear. Her mother's lessons passed to my son like inherited wisdom. I'd find them there some mornings, both asleep. Liam curled against her side, Grace's hand protective on his shoulder. The sight did things to my heart I wasn't ready to name. Garrett noticed during training. You're smiling. In public. Without prompting. So you've been stone-faced for 5 years. Now you grin like a fool every time someone mentions the human. I deflected his blade, swept his legs. He hit the mat hard. Her name is Grace. Exactly my point. He rolled up, grinning despite the impact. You're invested. Good. About time you remembered what living feels like. I didn't respond. Just attacked harder, trying to burn off the restless energy that came from being aware of Grace in every room, counting her heartbeats even when I couldn't hear them, wanting things I'd forbidden myself for half a decade. She was in the library when I found her that afternoon, surrounded by books, hair pulled back, completely absorbed. I watched from the doorway, studying the concentration on her face, the way she bit her lip when she read something interesting. She looked up, caught me staring. Creepy alpha behavior again. Just appreciating competence. You've read more military strategy in 3 weeks than most wolves read in years. I like understanding how things work. And if I'm pack guardian, I should know what I'm guarding. She'd taken the title seriously, attended every council meeting, asked intelligent questions, took notes. Some of the older wolves grumbled about human involvement in pack business. Grace won them over through quiet competence and refusing to be intimidated. I sat across from her, picked up the book she'd been reading. Sun Tzu. This is advanced material. Your Marines read it, didn't they? Jackson Rodriguez, Kim. My chest tightened hearing their names from her lips. Yes, we studied it at Quantico, applied it in Afghanistan. Tell me about them, not how they died, how they lived. So I did. Talked about Jackson's terrible jokes, Rodriguez's skill with languages, Kim's steady presence under fire. Grace listened without pity, just genuine interest in men she'd never meet, but who'd shaped the person in front of her. They sound like good men. The best, better than they knew. You carry them well, like honor instead of just grief. Some days, other days it's just weight. She reached across the table, covered my hand. The touch had become familiar, necessary. The weight means they mattered. That's not burden, Marcus. That's love. I turned my hand over, threaded our fingers together. When did you get so wise? Survival accelerates certain lessons. You learn what matters fast when you're counting days until you disappear completely. You won't disappear, not while I'm here. Her eyes held mine, blue-gray storm clouds that saw too much. Promise. Promise. We sat like that until Liam found us demanding Grace help with his tower building project. She went without hesitation, patient and engaged. I followed, watched them work together, and realized I was building something too. Not towers, a life, a family, something worth protecting beyond duty and obligation. Terrifying, necessary, real. That night I told her about Catherine. The whole story, not just the tactical facts. How we'd met young, married, fast, built something solid despite the pressures of pack leadership. How the rogues had coordinated their attack perfectly, drew me to the border with false intelligence, while the real strike force went for the heart of pack territory. How I'd returned to find her dead and Liam screaming, and my entire world reduced to ash. Grace listened on our porch, the place that had become ours, without discussion. Didn't offer platitudes, just presence. You loved her. Yes. And you blame yourself for not being there. Every day. But you were doing your duty, protecting the pack. Wrong priority, should have protected my family first. Grace was quiet for a moment, then, what would Catherine say about that, about you choosing her over pack responsibility? I'd never considered it. She'd say I was being an idiot, that a king protects everyone, not just personal interest. Then maybe honor her by doing what she'd want, not punishing yourself for choices you made with the information you had. The logic was sound. The grief didn't care about logic. I'm afraid of caring again. Afraid I'll lose you like I lost her. Like I lost my Marines. I stopped. Everyone you love dies, I know. You've said it in my room at night when you thought I was sleeping. Heat crept up my neck. You really do hear everything. Most things. You have a very distinctive brooding voice. Despite myself, I laughed. Brooding voice. Very alpha, very tortured. Quite dramatic, actually. I'm not dramatic. Marcus, you literally sit in dark rooms counting heartbeats and confessing your sins to unconscious women. That's the definition of dramatic. I pulled her close, tucked her against my side. She fit perfectly. Maybe, but you like it. I do, because it means you're feeling things again, even if they scare you. I pressed a kiss to her hair without thinking. She stilled, then relaxed into it. The gesture felt monumental, intimate. Right. I'm falling for you. You know that, right? Her hand found mine. I know. I'm falling too. It terrifies me. Me too, but maybe some things are worth the fear. We sat under Montana stars holding each other, two broken people learning to be whole together. I counted her heartbeats where they pressed against my ribs. 68 per minute. Alive. Safe. Mine. The word resonated through my chest. Mine. Not possessive ownership. Partnership. Claiming and being claimed. Two people choosing each other despite every reason fear gave to run. I was still terrified. But for the first time in 5 years, I wanted something more than I feared losing it. The summons arrived 2 days later. Regional Alpha gathering, mandatory attendance, Connors Mountain Estate. Twice yearly political theater, where alphas postured and made deals and reminded each other of territorial boundaries. I'd been dreading it since the last one 6 months ago. Politics exhausted me, but this time carried extra weight. The message was clear: they wanted to meet Grace, the human pack guardian, the woman who'd taken 4 arrows and survived. Some saw her as symbol of human werewolf unity. Others, Connor's faction, saw weakness to exploit. I found Grace in the garden with Liam. They were planting wildflowers, both covered in dirt, laughing at something I'd missed. The domestic scene made my chest ache with want. Grace, need to talk. She looked up, read my expression. Liam, keep digging. I'll be right back. We walked far enough that small ears couldn't hear. I handed her the summons. She read it twice. They want me there. Yes, as pack guardian, but also as... I struggled for words. As statement, you represent change. Connor and the traditionalists will use you to attack my leadership. Prove I've gone soft by elevating a human. So I stay here. Problem solved. No. The word came out harder than intended. You're pack guardian. That means you stand with the pack at official functions. Hiding you shows weakness. Validates their claims that humans are liabilities we can't showcase. She studied my face. What do you want me to do? I want you safe, but I also want you beside me. As pack guardian, as I stopped again, as what Marcus, as someone I trust, someone whose judgment I value, someone I... The words stuck in my throat. Grace stepped closer, cupped my face gently. Someone you care about. Yes, too much probably. Not possible to care too much. Only possible to hide from it. I covered her hands with mine. This gathering is dangerous. Not physically neutral ground rules prevent direct violence. But politically, they'll attack through you. Undermine you. Try to prove you're weak, incompetent, inappropriate for the position. I survived 11 years invisible. I can survive politicians. Grace? Marcus, her voice went firm. I'm going. This is my role. You elevated me to pack guardian. That means I do the job even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then. Pride warred with fear in my chest. She was right. She was also walking into a snake pit designed to destroy her. Then we prepare. I'll brief you on every alpha attending. Their positions, their allies, their weak points. You'll know more than they expect, respond faster than they anticipate. Tactical advantage through intelligence. Very Marine of you. It's kept me alive this long. We spent the next 3 days in intensive preparation. I taught Grace pack politics like mission briefings. Connor McLeod, traditionalist powerful, would attack her position directly. Miranda Chen, progressive potential ally, young enough to support change. Ronan Blake, wildcard, grieving his mate, unpredictable in his pain. Dana Volkov, calculating, always planning, watch for manipulation. Grace absorbed everything, asked sharp questions, took detailed notes. She had natural strategic instincts that reminded me of my best intelligence officers. Why does Ronan oppose human integration if he's not traditionalist? Grief makes people irrational. His mate died protecting their daughter from rogues. He associates loss with caring. Humans represent vulnerability. So he's afraid, not opposed. Essentially. Fear I can work with. Ideology is harder. She was right. Fear was tactical address. The root changed the response. Ideology required changing fundamental worldview. Much harder proposition. Liam took the news poorly, cried when we told him we'd be gone 3 days, clung to both of us terrified. What if monsters come again? Grace knelt to his level. Then Isla will protect you. She's very strong. But I want you to protect me. Your daddy and I have to be brave somewhere else for a little while. Can you be brave here? His face crumpled. Will you come back? I joined them on the floor, pulled Liam into my lap. Always, buddy. We promise. What if you don't? What if the bad wolves get you like they got Mama? My heart shattered. He'd never voiced that fear before. Never connected Catherine's death to the possibility of losing me or Grace. Grace took his small hands. Look at me, Liam. Your daddy is the strongest alpha in 3 territories, and I took 4 arrows and survived. We're pretty hard to kill, and we love you too much to stay gone. Understand? He nodded, still crying. We held him until the tears stopped, then read him every story he owned until he fell asleep between us on the couch. I carried him to bed. Grace followed, tucked him in with practiced care. We stood watching him sleep, this child who'd become the center of both our worlds. He's scared of losing us. He has reason to be. His mother died violently. He knows the world has teeth. We can't promise him we'll never leave. No, but we can promise we'll fight like hell to come back. I took her hand, led her to the porch, our place, our ritual. The stars were bright above the mountains, spring sliding towards summer, the air warm with pine and possibility. I'm terrified of taking you into that gathering. I know. Connor will try to destroy you, verbally eviscerate you in front of everyone. Prove you're unworthy of the position. Let him try. Grace, she turned to face me fully. Marcus, I've been underestimated my entire life. Been invisible, dismissed, told I don't matter. I know how to survive people who want me gone. The difference is now I have backup. I have you, and I have a position that says I'm worth defending. That's more than I've ever had. I cupped her face, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. You're extraordinary. You know that. I know I'm stubborn and determined and really tired of people thinking fragile means weak. Breakable doesn't mean broken. Exactly. She smiled. You do listen. To you, always. The space between us charged with something electric. I'd been fighting this pull for weeks. Fighting the need to kiss her, claim her, make this thing between us undeniable. Grace, I tell, yes. She answered the question I hadn't asked. I kissed her. Gentle at first, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Just pressed closer, hands fisting in my shirt, kissing me back with intensity that stole my breath. 5 years. I hadn't kissed anyone in 5 years. Had forgotten how it felt to connect like this. To taste hope and want and future on someone else's lips. Grace pulled back, breathing hard. That was everything I finished. I was going to say overdue, but everything works too. I laughed, rested my forehead against hers. I haven't done that since Catherine. Was it okay? But Grace, it was perfect. You're perfect. I'm really not. To me, you are. I kissed her again, slower this time. Savoring, memorizing. Tomorrow we face politics and posturing. But tonight, this moment, it's just us. Just us, she agreed. We stood wrapped together under the stars, and I felt the last wall crumble completely. I was in love with her. Had been falling since those 4 arrows. Since she'd chosen my son over her own safety. Since she'd asked if Liam was hurt before acknowledging her own injuries. This brave, brilliant, stubborn woman who ran toward danger and saw me as human instead of just king. I was terrified of losing her, but more terrified of never having this, of letting fear rob me of something real. I love you. The words escaped before I could stop them. Grace went still. Say that again. I love you. I've been falling since you took those arrows. Since you asked about Liam before yourself. Since you taught me what courage actually looks like. Her eyes shimmered. I love you too. Have for weeks. Was just waiting for your walls to finish cracking. I kissed her again, deeper this time. Less gentle. More desperate. 5 years of being numb, burning away in the heat of wanting her. She responded with matching intensity, hands sliding into my hair, body pressed against mine. We fit together perfectly. Two broken pieces finding wholeness in each other. When we finally broke apart, we were both shaking. Tomorrow, I said roughly, we deal with politics. But when we come back, we figure out what this is, what we are together. I already know what we are. We're brave together. We're healing together. We're in love, she finished. Yes, completely terrifyingly in love. She smiled soft and real. Good, because I wasn't looking forward to being terrified alone. We stayed on the porch until the cold drove us inside. I walked her to her room, reluctant to let go. Get some sleep. Tomorrow starts early. Marcus, she caught my hand. Thank you for seeing me, for choosing me despite the fear. Thank you for being worth choosing. I made it to my room, closed the door, and stood in the dark counting heartbeats I couldn't hear, but knew were steady. Grace was in love with me. I was in love with her. We were building something despite every reason to stay broken and alone. Terrifying, necessary, worth everything. The drive to Connor's estate took 4 hours through Montana wilderness. Grace sat beside me, hand in mine the entire way. We didn't talk much, just existed together while the landscape shifted from familiar packed territory to neutral ground. The estate emerged from the mountains like something from another century. Stone fortress, ancient and imposing windows that gleamed like watchful eyes. Neutral wolves maintained it year-round for gatherings. Safe space where alpha violence was forbidden by treaty. Grace's hand tightened on mine. I squeezed back. Stay close. Let me handle Connor's initial attacks. I'm not fragile. I know, but politics is different warfare. Let me take point. She nodded. We entered together, presenting united front. The other alphas were already there, clustered in the great hall. Conversations stopped when we appeared. Connor saw Grace and his face hardened. So, the human. I stepped slightly forward, protective instinct, overriding diplomacy. Pack Guardian Grace Morgan. Show respect. Respect for fragile. Careful, Connor. She took 4 arrows protecting my son. Question her worth again, and we'll have problems. Miranda Chen appeared at my elbow, warm and diplomatic. Marcus and the legendary Grace, I've been dying to meet you. Grace accepted the greeting with composure that made me proud. Thank you for your support of the Morgan Accord. Common sense, really. Humans who prove themselves deserve recognition. Miranda shot Connor a pointed look. Some of us understand merit over birth. Connor's jaw tightened. We'll see how much merit she shows when tested. The formal dinner was exactly as brutal as I'd anticipated. Connor attacked Grace's position, directly questioned her competence, suggested I'd elevated her out of misplaced gratitude rather than genuine worth. Grace weathered it with calm I hadn't expected. Answered his challenges with logic, refused to be baited into emotional responses. Every attack she deflected made Connor look more petulant. Finally, she stood. The room went silent. May I speak? I nodded, pride and worry warring in my chest. Grace faced Connor directly. You're right, I'm human, breakable, a potential target for anyone wanting to hurt King Marcus. She let that sit. Connor looked smug. But I'm also the woman who took 4 arrows without letting go of a child, who chose pain over abandoning someone helpless, who proved that strength isn't just muscle and fangs, it's choosing to protect even when protection costs everything. Her voice strengthened. If you think that makes me weak, then you've forgotten what strength actually means. Strength is standing up when kneeling would be easier. It's loving when loss has taught you how much love hurts. I may be a target, but I'm also a shield, and I'll keep being a shield for those I love, whether that fits your definition of worth or not. Silence. Then Dana Volkov began slow clapping. Others joined Miranda enthusiastically, Ronan thoughtfully, even some of Connor's own wolves. I reached under the table, found Grace's hand squeezed hard. She squeezed back both of us, trembling with adrenaline and relief. Connor sat back down, face dark, but arguments exhausted. The reception afterward felt lighter. Grace had proven herself to the room. Alphas approached her directly now, asking questions, showing respect. She handled each interaction with grace that belied her nervousness. Ronan Blake caught my attention. May I speak with her alone? Every protective instinct screamed no. But Grace was pack guardian. She could handle herself. Ask her yourself. He approached Grace carefully. She met his grief-haunted eyes without flinching. Will you walk with me? Of course. They moved to a quieter corner. I stayed close enough to intervene if needed, far enough to give privacy. Watched Ronan's body language broken, seeking something he'd lost. When they finished talking, Ronan had tears on his face, Grace's hand on his arm. Whatever she'd said had reached him where he hurt most. Ronan found me after. Your Grace is remarkable. She gave my daughter hope that bravery doesn't always end in death. She has that effect. Don't lose her. Don't let fear poison what you're building. Trying not to. Good, because what you two have, it's rare. Catherine would want you to have it, but the words hit harder than expected. Catherine would have liked Grace, would have approved of us finding each other in the wreckage. That night in our suite, I helped Grace with her dress zipper. The intimacy of the gesture made my hands shake. You were magnificent tonight. She turned in my arms. I was terrified. Didn't show. Good acting then. I kissed her forehead. Not acting. Courage. You stood in front of predators and claimed your worth. That's real. I had you backing me up. You would have done it anyway. That's who you are. She pulled me closer and I felt the want radiating between us. We'd crossed the line from friendship to love. One more step would make it undeniable. Marcus, not here. The words cost me. Not in this place. When I have you completely, it'll be somewhere safe. Somewhere ours. She nodded understanding. Then hold me. Just hold me. I did. All night. Wrapped around her, counting her heartbeats, feeling more alive than I had in 5 years. Tomorrow would bring more politics. But tonight we had this. Each other. Love that terrified and healed in equal measure. The alarm shattered our peace at 3 a.m. Piercing wail that had me combat ready instantly. Stay here. I was already shifting black wolf form, taking over. Marcus. But I was gone following the sound of combat. The estate hallways were chaos. Rogues had breached perimeter, somehow violating neutral ground treaty. Professional attack coordinated. I found Miranda fighting 3 at once, her smaller wolf form lightning fast but overwhelmed. Joined her, ripped into rogues with savage efficiency. The threat cleared, but more howls echoed through the building. Thereafter, the alphas, Miranda shifted back, bleeding from shoulder wound, trying to eliminate leadership. I ran toward the sound, found Ronan tearing through rogues with grief-fueled rage. Connor fighting back-to-back with his own warriors. Organized resistance forming. Then I heard it. Grace's voice. Screaming my name. Error flooded through me. She was supposed to stay in the suite, but Grace didn't hide when people were threatened. I found her in a side corridor. Standing between a young girl, Connor's granddaughter Emma, I realized, and 2 rogues closing in. Grace had my silver dagger raised, fighting stance Garrett had taught her, already bleeding from Claude's shoulder, but standing her ground. Grace, no. The rogues lunged. I shifted mid-run, covered the distance in seconds, tore into them with everything I had, protective fury overriding tactical thinking. Nothing mattered except keeping Grace safe. The fight was brutal. More rogues kept coming. I fought through them, frantic to reach Grace. She was dragging Emma to safety, using furniture as weapons, fighting smart despite being outmatched. One rogue pinned her. I saw red. Ripped it away from her, the kill vicious and complete. Connor arrived, saw his granddaughter safe because of Grace. Something shifted in his expression. He joined the fight, protecting Grace as fiercely as I was. Then Miranda's warriors flooded in. Ronan's southern fighters. Reinforcements we hadn't known were there. We sent guards, Miranda panted between attacks. Knew the threats existed. Couldn't let you face them alone. The tide turned. Professional warriors overwhelmed the rogues. Within minutes, the threat was contained. Bodies littered the hallway. Grace sat against the wall, bleeding. Emma clutched in her arms. I shifted back, ran to her. Are you hurt? Shoulder, not deep. Emma is safe because of you. I checked her wound. Clawed, but not life-threatening. When I saw you, I know, but that child needed protection. You could have died, but I didn't, and she's safe. That's what matters. I pulled her against me, Emma between us, and felt something in my chest crack open completely. I love you. God, Grace, I love you so much. Watching you run toward danger again, I can't lose you. I can't. She touched my face with bloody hands. You won't, I promise. I'm not going anywhere. You better not, because I'm never letting you go. I kissed her there, surrounded by bodies and warriors covered in blood and fear. Claimed her in front of everyone who mattered. Made it undeniable. Connor approached slowly, Emma in his arms now, looked at Grace with something like wonder. I owe you my granddaughter's life. Grace met his eyes. Then teach her that protection isn't weakness. That's all I ask. Connor's throat worked. I was wrong about you, about what strength looks like. The rogues who hired these attackers were from my pack. Purists who see humans as contamination. They've been exiled. This doesn't represent me anymore. Grace stood with my help. Your granddaughter is brave. Make sure she grows up knowing that bravery comes in all forms. Connor nodded deeply. To me, you chose well, King Marcus. As dawn broke and we counted casualties the other alphas gathered, the attack had changed something. Broken through ideological barriers with brutal clarity. Miranda proposed it formally. The Morgan Accord. Humans who prove themselves through action can hold honored positions. Interspecies relationships protected under pack law. We vote now. The vote was unanimous. Even Connor raised his hand. Grace's name would be an official pack record. Her courage recognized across all territories. I pulled her aside after. I called you my mate in front of everyone. I noticed. Is that? She cupped my face. Yes, if you're asking, the answer is yes. I'm yours, you're mine. Marry me. The words came out raw, unplanned, perfect. Grace's eyes widened. What? Marry me, Wes. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. But I've spent 5 years being half alive. You made me whole again. I don't want to waste another moment not being yours completely. Yes. No hesitation. Yes, of course, yes. I kissed her as the sun rose over the mountains, as warriors cleared bodies and alphas made history, and the world shifted towards something better. We drove home that afternoon, hands linked, future suddenly bright with possibility. Liam was waiting on the porch with Isla, saw us and ran, launching himself at both of us. You came back. You promised. Always, Grace murmured, holding him tight. We'll always come back. Inside, Isla had prepared dinner. We ate together, me, Liam, Grace. Family. Real family. After Liam was in bed, Grace and I returned to our porch. She leaned against me, my arm around her shoulders. We're engaged. We are. Your pack just made history. They did. Connor apologized to me. He did. She laughed. Is that all you're going to say? I'm processing. Lot happened in 24 hours. Fair. She turned to look at me. Are you scared? Terrified and happier than I've been in 5 years. Good, because I'm terrified too. But I meant what I said. I'm yours. Completely. I kissed her slowly, thoroughly, promising things words couldn't capture. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Come to bed with me, not just tonight. Every night. Let me show you how precious you are. She took my hand. Show me. That night I made love to Grace with tenderness that broke us both apart and put us back together. Worshipped every scar the arrows had left. Told her with touch what words couldn't convey, that she was cherished, desired love beyond measure. Afterward, wrapped in each other, heartbeats synchronizing, I felt complete for the first time since Catherine died. I love you, I whispered against her hair. I love you too. Always. We fell asleep tangled together, two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight we had this. Love. Home. Future. Everything. The morning after we returned from the gathering, I woke with Grace in my arms. Sunlight streamed through windows I'd forgotten to close. Her blonde hair spread across my chest, breathing steady and warm against my skin. 18 breaths per minute. I'd stopped counting from fear. Started counting from love. She stirred, eyes opening slowly. Found me watching. Creepy alpha behavior. Appreciating my fiancé. The word felt new in my mouth. Good. Right. Terrifying in the best way. Grace smiled, stretched like a cat. Your fiancé who needs coffee before being charming. I'll make it. You made it yesterday. My turn. She slipped from bed, pulled on my shirt. It hung to her thighs, sleeves past her hands. The sight did things to my chest I'd stopped trying to analyze. I just let myself feel it. Want, hope, future. Downstairs, Liam was already awake building elaborate truck routes through the kitchen. He saw us and his face split into pure joy. "You're both here together." Grace knelt beside him. "We are. Is that okay?" "It's the best. Does this mean Grace is staying forever?" I joined them on the floor, pulled Liam into my lap. "Grace and I are getting married. That means she'll be here forever. She'll be your mama, if you want." Liam looked between us, processing with the seriousness of children who'd learned early that words meant promises. "Real mama, not just pretend." Grace's voice was thick. "Real mama, if you'll have me." He launched himself at her, nearly knocking her over. "Yes, I want you to be my mama forever and ever." I watched them hold each other, this woman who'd chosen my broken family and made it whole, this son who'd lost too much too young and was finally getting something back. The moment burned itself into memory. Before everything changed, before the threats, just us choosing each other. The weeks that followed developed their own rhythm. Grace took her pack guardian duties seriously, attended every council meeting, asked sharp questions that made the older wolves rethink their positions. She had a gift for finding diplomatic solutions to territorial disputes, for seeing angles others missed. What if we rotate the hunting grounds seasonally instead of dividing them permanently? She'd been studying the Western border conflicts. Gives everyone access without creating ownership battles. Garrett looked impressed. "That's actually brilliant. Why didn't we think of that?" "Because you were thinking like warriors. Territory to defend. I'm thinking like someone who's survived by sharing scarce resources." I implemented her suggestion immediately. The border tensions eased. Connor sent grudging acknowledgement that her solution worked better than 50 years of traditional negotiation. She was making me a better king, making the pack stronger through quiet competence and refusal to accept that "we've always done it this way" was sufficient reason. But she also started teaching. Set up informal classes for pack children, human and wolf together. Reading, writing, but also her mother's lessons about compassion and courage, about choosing to protect instead of harm. I watched her with the kids sometimes, sat in the back of her makeshift classroom while 15 children listened to stories about brave creatures who helped each other despite differences. Liam sat in the front row, beaming with pride that his mama was the teacher. Emma McLeod attended too. Connor's granddaughter had requested it, specifically wanted to learn from the woman who'd saved her. Connor brought her himself the first day, stayed to watch the lesson. Afterward, he found me outside. "Your Grace is changing minds. My granddaughter talks about her constantly, about being brave like Miss Grace. She has that effect. I'm starting to see what you saw. The value in humans who prove themselves. It's difficult, admitting I was wrong for decades. Change is always difficult, especially for old wolves." Connor snorted. "Careful, pup. I'm not that old." But he smiled when he said it. First genuine smile I'd seen from him in years. The wedding planning happened around pack business and Grace's teaching. We kept it simple, summer evening in the meadow where her mother used to take her. Just pack members and allies from the gathering. Miranda sent enthusiastic congratulations and promises to attend. Ronan wrote a quiet note about new beginnings. Even Dinah sent an antique wedding gift with a card that read, "You've surprised me. Well done." Grace wanted minimal ceremony. Just us, our people, nothing political. Agreed. This is about family, not alliances. Liam took his ring bearer duties with absolute seriousness, practiced walking with the pillow every night, making sure he didn't drop the rings. Grace worked with him passionately, never showing frustration when he asked to practice for the 10th time. "You're going to be the best ring bearer ever, sweetheart." "I have to be. It's your wedding. It has to be perfect." She hugged him close. "It'll be perfect because you're there. That's all that matters." I watched them together and wondered how I'd gotten so lucky. Wondered what Catherine would think of Grace, of us. Decided she'd approve. Catherine had always wanted me to live, not just survive. She'd want this for Liam, especially. A mother who chose him every day. 6 weeks after the gathering, Grace started getting sick. Morning nausea that left her pale and shaky. She insisted it was just stress from wedding planning and pack guardian duties. Isla knew better. Found me in my office 3 weeks into the symptoms. Marcus, I need to tell you something. The tone made my combat instincts flare. What's wrong? Is Grace pregnant? About 6 weeks, healthy, everything looks good. The world stopped, tilted, restarted with different gravity. Pregnant? Yes. I wanted to tell you at first, let you decide how to tell her. Though honestly, she's smart. She'll figure it out soon if she hasn't already. Pregnant, we were having a baby. Grace was carrying my child. The reality crashed through me in waves, joy, terror, hope, fear. Everything at once. Is it safe after the arrows, the injuries? The werewolf blood actually helps. She'll heal faster during pregnancy, handle the physical stress better. But yes, I'll monitor closely, make sure both she and the baby stay healthy. I sat heavily in my chair. I'm going to be a father again. You already are a father. Good one too. This is just addition, not replacement. But it felt monumental. Liam had been Catherine's. This baby would be Grace's. Proof that we were building something new without erasing what came before. I found Grace in the garden that evening. She was planting more wildflowers, hands deep in Montana earth, completely absorbed. I watched her from the porch, memorizing the moment. Last time I'd see her not knowing. Grace, need to talk. She looked up, read my expression, wiped her hands on her jeans as she joined me. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's... Isla told me something today. Her hand flew to her stomach. Unconscious protective gesture. Oh, you knew, suspected. The nausea, the exhaustion. I've been avoiding Isla's medical wing because I wasn't ready to confirm it yet. Do you want... I couldn't finish the question. Grace took my hand, squeezed hard. I'm terrified and so happy I could cry. Both at once, relief flooded through me. Me too, exactly that. You're not upset. Upset, Grace, I don't have words. Terrified you'll have complications. Terrified I'll lose you like I lost Catherine. But also happier than I've been since Liam was born. We made this. Together. She pulled me close, buried her face in my chest. I felt her shoulders shake. Held her while she cried, happy tears mixed with fear and hope and everything between. I want this baby so much, she whispered against my shirt. Want to give Liam a sibling, give you another child. Build this family we're creating. Then that's what we do. Together. Brave together. Brave together, she agreed. We told Liam the next day. He processed the news with typical 4-year-old logic. A baby in Grace's tummy. Yes, sweetheart, you're going to be a big brother. His eyes went huge. A real baby that I can teach stuff. All the stuff, trucks and wolves and being brave. He jumped up and down, then carefully approached Grace. Put his small hand on her still flat stomach. Hi, baby, I'm Liam. Your big brother, I'm going to take care of you forever. Grace's tears started again. I pulled them both close, this family we were building from broken pieces and brave choices. The months passed in a blur of wedding preparation and pregnancy symptoms. Grace insisted on continuing her pack guardian duties and teaching despite Isla's suggestions to slow down. Stubborn woman, I loved her for it even as it terrified me. You need to rest. I rested yesterday. Today I have council meeting about the spring borders. Grace. Marcus, I'm pregnant, not fragile. I can do my job. I know you can. Doesn't mean you have to. She softened, touched my face. This is important to me. Being pack guardian. Showing the pack that humans can contribute even when pregnant. If I step back now, it validates every argument Connor made about us being liabilities. She was right. Tactically sound. Still made me want to wrap her in protective barriers and keep the world away. Then I'm attending every meeting with you. Non-negotiable. Deal. We attended council meetings together. Grace growing rounder, her contributions still sharp and valuable. The pack watched the pregnancy with fascination and protective pride. Their pack guardian carrying the future prince or princess. Bets started about the gender. Garrett insisted boy. Isla predicted girl. Liam wanted a sister, announced it to anyone who'd listen. At 4 months, we learned he'd get his wish. It's a girl, Isla confirmed during the ultrasound. Healthy, strong heartbeat. Everything developing perfectly. Grace's hand found mine. We stared at the grainy image of our daughter. A girl, I repeated, awed. We're having a daughter. Liam was ecstatic, started planning everything he'd teach his baby sister. Grace and I led him, grateful for his joy and investment in this new addition. But privately that night on our porch, we faced the harder conversation. We need to pick a name. Grace was quiet for a long moment. Then, I've been thinking about something. It might be too much, but I want to suggest it anyway. Okay, what about Catherine? I went completely still. Catherine, my Catherine. She was Liam's mother, part of your story, part of what made you who you are. She gave you your son. She loved you. Grace turned to face me fully. I'm not competing with her memory. I'm honoring it, if you're comfortable with that. My throat closed. Tears I hadn't cried since the gathering when I'd thought I'd lose Grace welled up now. You'd name our daughter after my dead wife. I'd name our daughter after a woman who was brave enough to love you, who gave you the gift of Liam, who deserves to be remembered. I broke, pulled Grace into my arms, and cried into her hair while she held me steady. This extraordinary woman who understood that honoring the past didn't diminish the present, who chose compassion even when it meant sharing space with ghosts. Catherine Morgan Stone, I managed finally. If you're sure. I'm sure she was important to you. That makes her important to me. We sat holding each other under Montana stars, and I felt the last piece of my broken heart slide back into place. Not erased, healed. Grace had given me that. The ability to love again without forgetting what I'd lost. But peace never lasted long. The threat emerged when Grace was 6 months pregnant. Intelligence reports of purist faction regrouping, planning something large. Not random rogues this time. Organized, funded with specific target, Grace and the unborn child. Symbol of contamination. The intercepted communications read, "Eliminate the hybrid heir. Send message humans don't belong." My blood ran cold reading it. Garrett stood across my desk, face grim. We've increased perimeter security, double patrols. But Marcus, if they're serious, they won't get near her. I'll kill anyone who tries. Understood. But we should consider moving her to secure location. Fortified position where, no, she won't agree and I won't cage her. We defend here. Home ground advantage. Garrett nodded. Then we prepare for siege. I didn't tell Grace immediately. Tried to shield her from the worry, she noticed anyway. You're thinking loudly again. We were in bed, her back pressed against my chest, my hand on her rounded belly. Catherine kicked against my palm, strong and healthy. Just pack business. Liar, what's wrong? I exhaled slowly. Purist faction is planning something. Targeting you and Catherine specifically. Intelligence suggests major attack. Grace's hand covered mine on her stomach. When unknown, could be weeks, could be tomorrow. We're increasing security, preparing defenses. But Grace, I turned her to face me. I need you to promise me something. What? If attack comes, you run. Get to the safe room with Liam. Let me and the warriors handle it. Marcus, please, you're carrying our daughter. I can't lose both of you. I can't. She saw the fear in my eyes. The memories of Catherine's death, of helplessly watching Grace take 4 arrows. Okay, I promise. If attack comes, I protect our children first. Thank you. But I knew her well enough now. Grace's promises came with conditions. She'd protect the children. But if someone needed her help, she'd run toward danger anyway. It was who she was. The attack came 2 weeks later. I woke to the alarm at 2 a.m. Combat instincts engaged before conscious thought. Grace was already sitting up, hand on her belly. Marcus, safe room now, get Liam. I was shifting as she moved, black wolf form taking over. Heard her running down the hall, heard Liam's confused crying. Trusted she'd get them secure while I bought them time. The compound was under full assault. Not rogues this time. Professional mercenaries hired for specific purpose. They'd breached the outer perimeter, were fighting through warrior defenses with military precision. I recognized the tactics. Coordinated suppression fire, tactical movement, specific objectives. Someone with combat training led this attack. Found Garrett fighting 6 mercenaries at the main entrance. Joined him, tore through them with savage efficiency. Blood and violence and protective fury driving every movement. They're going for the residence. Garrett shifted back long enough to shout, "Trying to reach Grace." I ran, faster than I'd ever moved, found 3 mercenaries breaking through the back entrance. They had silver weapons, knew how to fight werewolves. Didn't matter. I ripped through them anyway, made it to the hallway outside the safe room. Found Grace there, Liam behind her, holding a silver dagger in defensive stance. "I got them to the door," she gasped. "But I heard fighting. Couldn't lock us in while you were exposed." Stubborn, brave, impossible woman. Grace, the wall exploded inward. 4 more mercenaries, heavily armed. I shifted, put myself between them and my family. Heard Grace pushing Liam into the safe room, heard the lock engage. Good. At least he was secure. But Grace stayed in the hallway, armed with the dagger, refusing to hide while I fought. The battle was brutal. 4 against 1, all trained, all equipped to kill werewolves. I took damaged silver rounds burning through fur and flesh. But I'd been force recon, had fought in worse conditions against better odds. These mercenaries were good. I was better. One broke past me, went for Grace directly. I saw red, tore through the others to reach her, but she was already moving. Pregnant, slower than normal, but still trained. She ducked his first strike, slashed with the dagger. Silver bit into his leg. He howled, stumbled. I was there before he could recover, the kill vicious and complete. The last mercenary went down under combined assault from me and arriving warriors. The immediate threat cleared, but I could hear more fighting outside. This wasn't over. Grace slumped against the wall, breathing hard. I shifted back, ran to her. "Are you hurt?" "No, tired." Catherine's kicking like crazy. She managed a weak smile. Think she didn't like the excitement. I touched her belly, felt our daughter moving strongly beneath my hand. Alive. Safe. "Get into the safe room with Liam. Please. I need to coordinate defenses, and I can't do it if I'm worried about you." "Okay, but Marcus, be careful. Come back to us. Always." She locked herself in with Liam while I rejoined the battle. The night became blur of violence and tactical decisions. Mercenaries kept coming. We kept killing them. Slowly, painfully, we pushed them back. Dawn broke to find the compound secured but bloody. 15 dead mercenaries. 3 dead warriors. Dozens wounded. I'd taken silver rounds in shoulder and leg, but kept fighting through it. Adrenaline wouldn't last much longer. Found the mercenary leader alive, badly wounded. Had him brought to my office. "Who hired you?" He laughed, coughed blood. "You think I'm afraid of you? They'll keep coming. Hundreds of us who believe humans contaminate pack purity. You can't stop what's inevitable." "Watch me." Garrett pulled me aside. "Marcus, the Purist faction is larger than we thought. Cells in every territory. This was just one strike force. They've got funding, organization, ideological commitment. This won't end with this attack. Then we root them out. Every cell, every member. End this permanently. How they're embedded in multiple packs across territories we don't control." I thought of Catherine growing in Grace's belly, of Liam locked in the safe room terrified, of Grace standing in that hallway refusing to hide while I fought. We changed the narrative. Grace becomes symbol of what's possible, not what's forbidden. We tell her story everywhere, show that humans and wolves together makes us stronger, not weaker. We don't fight ideology with violence. We fight it with proof. Garrett studied me. "When did you become wise?" "When I stopped being just king and started being human again." Grace found me in the medical wing hours later. Isla was extracting silver rounds, muttering about stubborn alphas who fought while wounded. "Marcus," Grace's voice was tight with worry, "you're hurt." "I'm fine, healing already." She ignored Isla's protests and moved to my side. Took my hand, squeezed hard. "Don't lie to me. How bad?" "Silver rounds in shoulder and leg. Painful but not life-threatening. I've had worse." "That's supposed to comfort me." "Honest answer. I'm okay, you're okay. Catherine's okay, Liam's okay. We survived. That's what matters." She leaned her forehead against mine. "I hate that you had to fight, that we're under attack just for existing together." "I know, but we're going to end it. Not just suppress it. End it completely." Isla finished her work, bandaged me efficiently. "Bed rest for 2 days, non-negotiable." "Isla to Marcus Stone, you're my king, but I'm still your doctor." Bed rest or I'll have Garrett sit on you. Grace laughed despite everything. I'll make sure he behaves. Good luck. Stubborn alpha behavior is genetic. We found Liam in the safe room curled up with his stuffed wolf. He saw us and ran tears streaming. You came back. You promised, but I was so scared. I knelt carefully, pulled him close despite the pain in my leg. Always, buddy, always. Are the bad wolves gone? Yes, they won't hurt us again, I promise. Grace joined us on the floor, made it family embrace. We held each other while adrenaline faded and reality set in. We'd survived, but the threat remained. That night after Liam was finally asleep and Grace had been examined thoroughly by Isla, both mother and baby healthy, despite the stress, we returned to our porch. Tell me the plan. I looked at her, 6 months pregnant, exhausted from the attack but still thinking strategically. We tell your story everywhere, every pack, every territory. Show them what Grace Morgan represents. Not contamination. Hope. Proof that different doesn't mean dangerous. You want me to become symbol. You already are. But controlled narrative instead of purist propaganda. Show them the pack guardian who took 4 arrows. The teacher changing children's minds. The woman pregnant with future princess who represents both human and wolf heritage. Grace was quiet thinking. That makes me bigger target. Yes, but also makes attacking you attack on shared future instead of just one pack's choice. We change the political calculation. When did you become so strategic? When I fell in love with someone worth protecting with everything I have, including changing how the entire werewolf world thinks. She kissed me softly. Okay, I'll do it. Tell my story, be the symbol. But Marcus, her hand found mine. We do this together. You and me, brave together. Always. The next months became whirlwind of travel and speaking engagements. Grace told her story at pack gatherings across the territories. About taking arrows for a child she didn't know. About being invisible until she chose to matter. About teaching children that differences make us stronger. Miranda hosted her at the Coastal Pack. The speech brought the entire pack to tears. Young wolves asked questions about courage and fear. Grace answered with the wisdom her mother had taught her that being brave means choosing compassion when fear screams at you to run. Ronan invited her to the Southern Pack. She met his daughter Emma, talked to her about losing mothers and finding family again. Afterward, Emma wrote a school report about Grace that went viral through pack networks. The Bravest Human became required reading for wolf pups across 3 territories. Even Connor invited her to speak at the Western Pack. His transformation from antagonist to ally was nearly complete. Grace's speech there focused on understanding fear instead of dismissing it. Address the purest concerns directly. Yes, change is terrifying. Yes, humans are fragile. But fragile doesn't mean weak. And fear doesn't have to mean hate. Connor's wolves gave her standing ovation. Several approached afterward, confessing they'd been purest sympathizers until hearing her story. Seeing her pregnant with the future princess, watching her courage firsthand, it changed minds. The purist faction began losing ground. Not eliminated completely, but isolated, marginalized. Grace became proof that their ideology was based on fear, not fact. At 7 months pregnant, Grace insisted on continuing her teaching despite my protests. Her classroom had expanded to 25 children now. Emma McLeod, Emma Blake, and dozens of others learned together. Human and wolf breaking down barriers through shared childhood. I watched her teach one afternoon. She'd written the lesson on the board, "Courage is choosing compassion when fear tells you to run." Who can tell me what this means? Liam's hand shot up. My mama chose to protect me even when she was scared. That's right, fear is normal. Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human or wolf. What matters is what you do with that fear. A small wolf pup raised her hand. My daddy says humans are weak, that we shouldn't trust them. Grace didn't flinch. Your daddy is partly right. Humans are fragile. We break easier than wolves. But does fragile mean we can't be brave? The pup thought about it. No, you were brave when you got hurt. Exactly. Strength comes in many forms. Sometimes the bravest thing is being soft in a world that tells you to be hard. I fell more in love with her in that moment. Watching her teach these children to think differently, to question assumptions, to build a better world than the one we'd inherited. That night, she went into early labor. We were on the porch, our place, always our place when her water broke. She looked down, then up at me with wide eyes. Marcus, it's time. Terror and joy flooded through me in equal measure. You're only 8 months. Isla said, babies don't care about timelines. Call her now. I did then carry Grace inside while trying not to panic. Isla arrived within minutes, assessed the situation with professional calm. Early but not dangerously so. Baby's full term enough. We'll monitor closely, but this should be fine. Labor lasted 14 hours. I didn't leave Grace's side, held her hand through every contraction, counted with her through the pain. My shoulder wound throbbed in sympathy, but I ignored it. This was about her, about our daughter fighting her way into the world. You've got this, I told her during a particularly brutal contraction. You took 4 arrows. You can do this. Arrows were easier, she gasped. I laughed despite the fear. Probably. At hour 12 complications, Catherine was positioned wrong. Isla needed to turn her manually. The procedure would hurt. Grace was already exhausted. I'm here, I whispered against her ear. Right here, you're not alone. Don't leave me. Never, I promise, never. She screamed during the procedure. I held her through it, wished I could take the pain for her, felt useless in the face of what she was enduring. Finally, Isla said, one more push. That's all. One more in him, and you'll meet your daughter. Grace pushed. I felt her pour everything left into it. Then a baby's cry. Strong, healthy, perfect. It's a girl, healthy girl. Isla placed Catherine on Grace's chest. Tiny, squalling dark hair like mine. Grace's eyes. Perfect combination of both of us. Catherine, Grace whispered. Our Catherine. I couldn't speak. Could only stare at wife and daughter, this family we'd built from broken pieces and brave choices. Tears streamed down my face unchecked. She's perfect. You're perfect. Hey, thank you. For what? For this, for her, for us, for teaching me how to live again. Grace smiled, exhausted and radiant. We did it together. Together, I agreed. Liam met his sister an hour later. We'd cleaned Grace up, checked Catherine thoroughly, made sure both were stable. Then brought in the big brother who'd been waiting anxiously with Garrett. That's my sister. That's Catherine. Want to hold her? What if I break her? I sat him in the chair, placed Catherine carefully in his arms. You won't. I'll help. Liam stared at his sister with pure awe. Catherine grabbed his finger, held tight. She likes me. She loves you already. I'm going to teach her everything about trucks and wolves and being brave like Mama. Grace's eyes filled with tears again. I sat on the arm of the chair, arms around all 3 of them. My family. Complete. The pack visited over the next days. Quiet, respectful, honoring the new princess. Connor brought Emma, who presented Catherine with a hand-drawn picture of wolves and humans holding hands. For the baby princess who'll change the world. Miranda sent massive flower arrangement with card to new beginnings and old friendships. Ronan wrote, may she know peace her parents fought for. Even Dinah sent gift antique lullaby box that played haunting melody. For the child who represents our future. The purest faction went silent after Catherine's birth. Not eliminated, but forced underground. The narrative had shifted too far. Hard to argue humans contaminated pack purity when the AlphaKing's daughter, half human, loved by all territories, represented everything strong and beautiful about integration. We'd won. Not through violence, through Grace's courage and our willingness to build something better. 1 year later, I stood on our porch holding Catherine while Grace and Liam played in the yard. Summer evening, perfect weather, family healthy and safe. The scars remained Grace's 4 arrows, my silver burns. But they were beautiful scars now. Proof we'd survived and built something worth protecting. Grace looked up, caught me watching. What are you thinking? That 5 years ago I was dead inside, building walls, surviving instead of living. Then you took 4 arrows for my son, and everything changed. She walked over Liam, running ahead to play with Catherine. Regret it. Not for a single second. Those arrows led us here. To you, to our family, to life I never imagined possible. You saved me too, you know, made me visible, gave me purpose, taught me I was worth protecting. We saved each other. That's what love does. Catherine grabbed my finger, squeezed hard. Strong girl, like her mother. She'd grow up in a world different from the one Grace and I had known. Better world. Because her mother had been brave enough to run toward danger when everyone else ran away. Liam ran back breathless. Daddy, tell Catherine the story about how Mama saved me. I looked at Grace. She nodded, smiling. So I sat with our children and told them about the bravest person I'd ever known. About 4 arrows and choosing compassion over fear. About building family from broken pieces. About love being worth every scar. Grace added her part about her mother's wisdom, about choosing to matter, about being brave, meaning being soft in a hard world. When we finished, Catherine was asleep in my arms, and Liam was yawning against Grace's side. Best story ever, Liam mumbled. Best story because it's true, Grace corrected gently. We carried them inside, tucked them into bed. Liam in his room, Catherine in the nursery we prepared with such hope and fear. Then returned to our porch, our place holding each other under Montana stars. Do you ever wonder what happens next? Grace's head rested on my shoulder. Next, we keep teaching, keep showing that different doesn't mean dangerous. Keep building the world we want our children to inherit. Think it'll work. Already is. Look at Liam's classroom. 25 children who see each other as friends, not separate species. Look at Connor's transformation. At the Morgan Accord changing pack law across territories. Look at our daughter sleeping peacefully because her parents made the world safer. Grace tilted her face up, kissed me softly. When did you become an optimist? When I fell in love with someone who taught me hope was worth the risk. We stayed there as night deepened and stars wheeled overhead. Two people who'd been broken and found wholeness in each other. Two people who'd chosen love over fear and built something worth bleeding for. The 4 arrow scars on Grace's back would never fade completely, but they were the most beautiful marks I'd ever seen because they led us home, to each other, to family, to love that transformed and healed and made everything worth it. I'd spent 5 years being dead inside. Grace brought me back to life, taught me that being strong meant being soft, that protecting what mattered was everything. That legacy wasn't about territory or power. It was about the children we raised in the world we left them. Catherine would grow up knowing her mother's courage. Liam would remember the woman who chose him when she owed him nothing. Both would learn that being brave meant choosing compassion when fear screamed at you to run. And I would spend every day being worthy of the sacrifices made for me. Worthy of Grace's love. Worthy of my children's trust. Worthy of the second chance I'd been given. The broken king was gone. In his place, just a man who'd found his purpose. Not in ruling, but in loving. Not in strength, but in the courage to be vulnerable. Not in walls, but in opening his heart to someone worth the risk. Grace shifted against me, hand on my chest over my heart. I love you, Marcus Stone. I love you too. Always. We sat in peace while our children slept, and the Montana wilderness breathed around us, and the future stretched bright with possibility. Together. Brave together. Always.